Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of achieving a healthy weight. If you do enjoy my videos, make sure that you get subscribed to my channel. I'm only like less than 10 away from 500. So if you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button. Get me to 500. Um, Also, other than clicking the subscribe button, I would love it if you clicked on that bell icon so you got alerted when I went live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me live at 4 p.m. on most weekdays Central Time, or outside of my live streams, you can consider joining our Discord. There's a link for that down in the description below. Also, if you're interested in getting some ideas of the meals that we enjoy, we have a link for a Pinterest board down in the description below as well. That's a great place to check those things out. Today is April 5th, 2022. It is day 521 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet to lose over 200 pounds. I just screwed up whatever going on there. So yes, I've lost over 200 pounds so far. I'm looking forward to the next 19 months of my challenge and getting to my goal weight and maintaining that weight as well. I am just going to figure out why or how I screwed this. Not it either. There we go. Found the right button. I'm all set. Now I can see your guys' chat if you decide to say anything to me. All right. So I'm going to switch over to the main page here. I hope everybody had a great night last night. I was really busy yesterday, so it was nice to get home, kind of relax a little bit, not have such a busy evening. Just because the day I was on my feet a lot more yesterday than I am generally on my feet most of the time. I get to relax in my big oversized office chair and hang out in front of the computer. But yesterday I was on my feet for 5 or so hours walking around doing some other things. So it was nice to get home. Anthony's checking in saying hello. Hello, Anthony. I saw that you caught us at the very end yesterday, but I had already ended. So I want to let you know I did see you yesterday. I hope that you had a good evening and everything is going great for you. Last night, Carrie said whatever we had for dinner, the name of it. So unless she's watching here and can tell me the name of it, if you want to know the name of it, you'd have to check out last night's stream. I know it was cabbage and rice and some beans. It's an interesting thing with the diet now. I would not say that it was the best thing that we ever had. And the rice was undercooked a bit, so it was a bit al dente, right? Is the correct word, I believe. So it was a little bit hard, the rice itself. But I uh I don't care if it's not the best thing I ever had. I think that's one of the big things that I ran into in my old way of eating, is that I always wanted my next meal to be the best thing ever. It's sort of like a cocaine addict, like you remember the first time you had a McDonald's burger, or and you're just trying to chase that high every time you go to fast food and buy these high caloric foods. So I uh wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't say that it was the most amazing dinner in the world, but it was satisfying. It was rice again, which is something I've had like 4 or 5 times in the last week as dinner, and I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it. Uh, I had polished off all of our snack foods over the weekend. Hey, Jeffe or Hefe, I'm not sure. Looking good, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I hope everything's going great for you. I got rid of all the snack foods this weekend because I binged on them because they were in my house, and I am going to try to avoid the temptation of replacing them. Uh, the biggest thing we run into, we get almost all of what we would call snack food from Costco. And so it's just a matter of not buying them. I didn't miss not having cashews last night. I don't think it hurt me not having cashews. I may have had a couple more oranges or an additional banana, but the calorie difference between the one banana I ate and the satisfaction that that one banana would give me versus a handful of cashews is a big part of why I think this whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet is successful. Is, it's all about that volume eating, and I'm going to go into a little bit of that more later with the title of today's stream. So I didn't have that to snack on, and then the dehydrated mango is also another kind of food that I will go after. You said you're on hour 60 of your 790 or 30-day fast. That's awesome, man. I hope everything goes well with you on the fast. You're in the early stages. 60 is kind of where I feel like there's a big hump where you're at now. So if you can get past kind of that 72-hour to 5-day mark, then you can do well going forward, or you can work out well, or you can make it work. If you can get through this period where you have kind of the stomach dumping itself and going through any withdrawals from the old way of eating, that's kind of the big hump there. And for me, when I've done my extended water fast, it turns into, at a certain point, once you get to day 5, get to day 7, there is kind of what actually got me down this path is that fear of refeeding, that you're going to do something wrong when you refeed. And so that kind of helped keep me staying on diet as well. You said you're holding through and you're determined. Your back is hurting extremely bad, but I'm thinking it's because of the fast, possibly. Yeah. Um, if you want to take some time, and you'd have to dig to find a specific video where they talk about it, but I know that Dr. Goldhamer from the True North Clinic, in some interview that I've seen, has talked about that's one of an earlier sign, of an earlier uh try to think, something, it's something that happens early on with a lot of people with fasting, I believe, is like a lower back kind of, if it's lower back, I don't know. I guess it could be upper back, but kind of a kidney function thing. Also, what I ran into is that when I fasted, I went through a lot of pain in my ankles, and I think they refer to it as a crisis moment or something, where your body starts attacking something that it needs to repair, and it feels like pain, or it comes across as pain, and it's actually your body doing some repair. Um, so it was a male doctor. His name is Dr. Alan Goldhamer, and he's at the True North Clinic. They do medically supervised extended water fasts, and I believe and it might have been another doctor at the True North Clinic that talked about it, but that lower back pain is a common uh symptom, I guess. Or I don't think that's the right word, but it's the common occurrence when people water fast. So um it 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 could be your body going through some things. But again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you any medical advice, and don't uh don't sacrifice your own health at the expense of maybe pushing a water fast another day. But if you feel like your mind's clear and you're not having any respiratory or any of those other issues, having a little bit of back pain for a day or two might be worth it if you can get through it. So, um, yeah, you've seen some of their stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of videos with Alan Goldhamer and different interviews that he's done um, over the years that I've watched a lot in the past year and a half, because that's kind of the protocols I follow are what they do at the True North Clinic, or what they recommend at the True North Clinic. So, um, but yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know how frustrating it can be, because you're trying to do something good for yourself, but then you have kind of these aches and these pains, and start questioning yourself too. And a little bit of that is that questioning yourself, and that is your body trying to convince you to go back and eat, like it's trying to uh tempt you, or because that's one of the things that we're very privileged that we get to choose to water fast. The humans that lived 10 or 20 or 40,000 years ago that had to fast, it wasn't by choice. It was because it took too long for the winter to clear or the spring to come in, or they had eaten all the food that was near them and hadn't found new food yet. So they would have to go lengths of time without eating, but it was a forced fast. Whereas with this is we're choosing to impose these restrictions on ourselves. So Carrie says lots of soccer prep going on today. Yes. Is it raining? I haven't looked outside. You're happy overall. Great. That's awesome. And that's confidence and a positive mindset are two things I highly recommend. I also would recommend, if you get a chance, and just go back and watch some of my videos from my first 40 days of this while I was fasting. And because there's a lot of things I said back then or did back then that was happening in the moment, because it was fresh in my mind. Now talking to me, we're 16 months removed from that time, so it's tough for me to remember everything about that period. But um yeah, you feel like you can accomplish anything at the moment. You don't know what it is, but you've never felt like this. LOL. Yeah, there's very much some periods of euphoria that you'll come across. I um Yeah, it's just kind of, you almost get to a point where you feel at peace with things, and you're able to just maintain your lifestyle. A big part that I do recommend to anybody that is doing an extended water fast is try to limit your activity as much as possible. Don't go out and start doing workouts while you're water fasting, because you're just going to hurt yourself down the line. You may feel great. You feel like, and this is what kind of I've had happen in previous fasts before I started this challenge, but you feel like you can conquer the world. You got this euphoria. You're better than ever. You're checking the scale. You're 5, you're 10, you're 15 pounds lighter than when you started. You feel amazing. So you're like, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start doing morning and evening walks, and you feel great on day 8 when you do that walk, and you're like, that was the best workout. It was awesome. But then day 11 comes around and you are just pooped. You're just like, oh my god, this water fast is killing me. I don't know what's wrong today that it's so bad. And what's wrong today on day 11 is that you worked out on day 8. So I would recommend just making sure you take it easy. I was fortunate because when I started, I was at 520 pounds. I lived a sedentary lifestyle. You don't get to be 520 pounds by being super athlete or doing a lot of stuff. You get to 520 pounds by eating a lot of junk food and doing very little moving. So I just cut out the junk food and I kept the movement at the same level, and I was able to maintain that for a long time. And so that's yeah, I mean, and again, I don't know what your starting weight is. I'm not sure how overweight you were. I still worked. I still did my job, but my job is to sit at a computer. So I don't have a super active job. And if you do have a super active job, then you just have to be careful and realize, and the second time I fasted since I started this, it was about a year ago, or it was a little over a year ago now. And my plan was to fast for, I think it was 20 days, or I think maybe another month was my goal for fasting. And I got to day 10 and realized that I wasn't happy with how little I was getting done, because I had already lost over 120 pounds at that point, and I had learned what it was to be, not 520 pounds again. So I had picked up my activity. I was doing more things with my kids. I was helping out more at work or being more active just overall. And so that second water fast at about day 10, it was a Friday and the weekend was coming up. And I realized that I didn't want to spend the weekend just sitting around again because I wanted to hang out with my kids and do stuff. And I knew that if I got too active, that it would potentially harm me in the long run. So just do your best with what you can do. You're a cook at Chipotle, so there's not really a lot of movement, but it is still something. Yeah. That and then you're 6'2", 360. Yeah. So that is difficult to be water fasting and then having to cook food at the same time. Carrie is definitely going to be my wife, Carrie. She kind of she never water fasted like I did, I guess, but um she would, like, to me it'd be really tough preparing food and not like licking my fingers like you get something on your finger or tasting it. So I can imagine that that would be difficult, but just do the best you can with it and make sure you're staying hydrated. If the kitchen's hot and you're sweating a lot, you really got to make sure you're staying hydrated. But don't compromise your health just to keep going on with the water fast. You got to find ways to make it work. So, but I'm rooting for you. I'm really excited to hear how you do. I hope you check back in and let me know how it goes for you. Over the next, I guess you got what, 60 hours in. So you're on day 3. So you got 27 to go. Let me know how it goes. I'm excited. So, let's see. Yesterday, food, kind of talked about that. This morning we had oatmeal, kind of our standard oatmeal, or our modified standard. It's oatmeal is the standard thing for us in the morning, but we've switched over to eating a more savory oatmeal with spinach and lemon juice, and the base, instead of using apple juice, we're using almond beverage or almond milk that Carrie's making. Um, and so it's not as sweet, which I think does help with those kind of sweet cravings throughout the day. When you start your day with a real sweet thing, then you kind of are looking for sweet stuff the rest of the day. Where with this, it's definitely more of a savory thing. The oatmeal is still very filling, which is a big part of the success, I believe, diet. I titled the stream calories in, calories out versus calories absorbed, calories out. I think that calories in, calories out is almost there. Like, it is a good mindset to have in some ways because it is a math problem essentially. If you want to lose weight, the food that if as long as the food you're eating is fewer calories than what you expend in a day, then you will be at a calorie deficit, and over time, if you continue on with that, you will lose weight. Where I think that the equation falls apart is that we don't understand our digestive system a little bit. And when we think about it or realize how our digestive system works, that it's actually not necessarily so much about how many calories you put in, but the number of calories your body is able to use from that food. As a kid, I can always remember them saying, if you ate lettuce or celery, it's like having a negative 10 calories. And because your body has to work so hard to process that food, and it works harder than the actual calories that are in the food. But so I think the first thing I kind of have to realize or kind of explain is how the digestive system works. And because I didn't necessarily understand it correctly, I kind of thought you ate food, it went into your stomach broke down your food, and then it went through your intestines and you pooped it out. And it is that in some regards, but where I was missing things is with the role of the stomach and the role of the intestines. Because you think of your stomach as being the place where your food goes and you have stomach acid and it breaks that food down, and that's how you digest, that's how you get your calories. But it's not really how it works. The way it works is our digestive system starts from our mouth. Our teeth chopping the food up is the first process of our digestion. And then that food goes into our stomach. And there's the function of the stomach is to continue to help break down that food, but it's really just a bag for us to put the food in that our body needs to absorb energy from. And so all of our satiation mechanisms, all of the things that says, "Hey, you've eaten enough food," is in our stomach. But our stomach does not care about what the contents of that food is. The stomach just cares about the food coming in and that it is a satisfying amount. And they've done studies and they've shown that people on average, they strive to eat between 3 and 5 pounds of food a day to create their satisfaction or their satiation. And so our stomachs don't care what the content of that food is, whether it is 5 pounds of rice or 5 pounds of Kit Kats. It just wants 5 pounds of food. And so the first part that I feel like I've always made a mistake is thinking that my stomach is actually what does the calorie absorbing or what gives me the energy from my food. And that is not the case. Where we get the energy from our food is in our intestines. When the food passes through our intestines, our the linings of our intestinal tract, they absorb energy or the calories from that food as it processes through that digestive tract. And it's only the food that is touching the stomach lining. So if you think of like a sausage, like when they fill up a sausage in a machine, I'm sure everybody's seen that. You have the lining of, or you have the casing on that sausage. The If that casing is our intestines can only absorb energy from the stuff that's actually touching that casing or that lining. So the food that's in the middle, it actually doesn't absorb until it pushes through the system, and then the stuff in the middle ends up being the stuff that touches the stomach lining. And where this all kind of comes in is that so then your body comes through and it processes as much of the food as it can as it's going through your stomach lining, and anything that it is unable to process, it then you excrete through your feces. That's what you poop out. And what I've realized with this diet is that calories in, calorie out is part of the equation, but I can eat a lot of foods that, and the best example everybody knows about, everybody, if I say, corn, if you eat corn, you see whole kernels when you eat it. And then when you look in the toilet when you're done, you see whole kernels again. And so if you're doing a calorie in, calorie out method of doing your math, you're going to count that kernel of corn as calories that you consumed. But if you see that kernel of corn on the opposite end of things, how did you absorb any energy from that? You didn't. You processed it through your body, but because that corn has cell walls and it has a lining on the outside of it, your body wasn't able to actually get calories from it. And so that's where your teeth come into play. The more you chew something like corn, the more your body has access to the nutrients that are inside that kernel while it's going through your digestive system. And one of the examples I kind of was giving the other day when I was talking about this, if I sat down and had a bowl of kidney beans in front of me or just beans in front of me, and I took those beans and I ate them one by one like a pill. Like I put it in my mouth and I swallowed it whole, or I took a drink of water and swallowed it whole, the food would come into my body. And if I took a whole bowl of beans, and let's say that that is 250 calories for this bowl of beans, I'm throwing a number out there. If I were to eat them like a pill, my body would have a really hard time getting any nutrients from them because the skin is on there. So not only would I would be eating those calories in, but I wouldn't be absorbing them. And I guess where that calories in, calorie out equation does work is most people only count their total daily energy expenditure. They don't look in the toilet and count those calories as calories out. I guess I'm thinking that as doing this, but it, my way of thinking with the calories absorbed, if I took that same bowl of kidney beans and I put them in a blender and I blended them up like a refried bean, and then I ate that 250 calories worth of beans, that skin is no longer a barrier between the nutrients and my stomach lining. So when that 250 calories of beans processes through my system, my body is able to grab those nutrients and actually absorb more of that energy. So the first way, I might only absorb 50 calories of those beans. The second way, I might absorb 200 calories of those beans. It was the same amount of calories going in, but because I ate the bean more in a whole fashion, I absorbed less calories. And that is something that I'm learning from this diet is that when you have foods that are closer to their whole form, your body has a harder time processing them. There's all kinds of examples, like I said, with the beans and the refried beans. You could do the same thing with corn. If I took a bowl of corn and ate 100 calories of corn, my body might only absorb 50 of those calories that I ate. But if I were to take 100 calories of high fructose corn syrup and put it on a spoon and eat that 100 calories of high fructose corn syrup, my body would likely absorb all 100 calories of that food. And so that is kind of where I think that we run into that issue. And there was an experiment that when I was in high school or junior high that we talked about or was shown to us, and it talked about with with water and ice cubes and the um the energy disbursement between water and ice cubes. So if I took a glass of water and I dropped a single ice cube into that glass of water, then it would take 20 minutes, let's say, for the water to melt that ice cube down to nothing so that it was all water. And because the surface area of the water or the surface area of the ice cube is in cubed form, the water can only touch so much of that and it can only absorb it at a certain rate. If I took an ice cube and then crushed that ice cube and put it into that same glass of water, the reaction's going to happen faster. So instead of it taking 20 minutes for that ice cube to melt, it might only take 10 minutes for that ice cube to melt, which also means that the water temperature change in the glass with the ice cubes versus the glass with the crushed ice is slower because that surface area that the water touches is greater, and that causes a quicker, faster reaction to happen. Our bodies are the same way. When you go to the store and you buy highly processed foods, they've gotten rid of that protective barrier that the food has, that fiber, that extra uh, nutrients that are around it, and just concentrated the caloric parts of the food. When we eat a whole food plant-based diet, you can you can even have variations within that. And the best way or the best example I can give with that is with the oatmeal that we have in the morning. You could get different types of oats. You can get rolled oats, you can get steel cut oats, and you can get oat groats. And that's kind of in order from most processed to least processed. So an oat groat is how they come off the plant. It might have a little bit of processing, but for the most part, an oat groat is the closest part you can get to just straight oats. Steel cut oats takes those oat groats and they put them through a little bit of a process to chop them up so that they are like pieces of oat groats. But then if you take rolled oats, they take that same oat and they put it in a machine and they flatten it. And so when you eat an oat groat versus a rolled oat, there's more surface area that's exposed in the rolled oats. So your body will absorb more energy from the oat groats than I'm sorry, your body will absorb more energy from the rolled oats than it would the oat groats. But you're going to get the same satisfaction based on the weight of food you eat. If you eat a bowl of oat groats and you eat a bowl of rolled oats, you're going to get satisfied either way. But your body is going to absorb more calories from the rolled oats. So if you have a choice between the two and you're trying to lose weight, you should go for the oat groats because your body has to work harder to get any calories, and the calories are tougher to unlock. And uh, that is what really I feel like is what's missing from this calorie in, calorie out, because I can now eat huge volumes of food. It'd take me a second to pull this photo up, but I had the food from this weekend that was just rice with this loaf that Carrie had made. And this I had um I'll get to your question here in just a second. Sorry. So this was a dinner. I didn't take a great photo of it, but that was one of two plates of food that I ate because that's brown rice. And I know my body is only going to be able to digest the brown rice that I chew up very well. So most of that food that I ate was filler throughout the process. And it is extremely satisfying to be able to eat a plate like that or two plates like that for dinner instead of eating half a plate of highly processed food that your body is going to absorb more calories from. Um and and so that is a big part of, like I said, what I feel is the success of this diet inherently. Like it's a side effect of it is that by eating a whole food plant-based diet, we're kind of getting closer or back to that scratch cooking where it's the actual items or the actual parts of the plant, and then we eliminate that excess calorie intake or because when you have straight like if you were to eat cane sugar like the actual plant, you would absorb only so much of that sugar. But if you strip all of the fiber away and just have the sugar, then your body's going to absorb all of those calories from it. So it's something that off um it's something that the overall it's extremely important. And so your question here is, how much does going vegan affect the weight loss? And what I would say to that is that really it's a huge part, but it's because of calorie density. Because like I said earlier, we are designed to eat between 3 and 5 pounds of food a day. And when you eat foods that have a calorie density of more than 1,000 calories per pound. And then this is actually higher than what is recommended. But let's use 1,000. If I eat 3 to 5 pounds of food that average 1,000 calories, then my average calorie intake for the day is going to be between 3,000 and 5,000 calories, which for many people is going to be higher than the energy that they expel plus what they excrete in the toilet. If you eat a diet that has a 500 calorie per pound average, then when you eat 3 to 5 pounds, you eat between 1,500 and 2,500 calories of food. So you get to eat the same weight of food, but that effect is that you're saving yourself between 500 and 2,500 calories in a given day. And you don't feel deprived because when you eat that diet where it's just eat in moderation, where you're just going to eat um less of that food, if that food that you're eating less of has a calorie density of 1,000 pounds, then you're going to eat a pound and a half of food that day. And you can do that for a few days, maybe even a few weeks or months. But in the long run, your body's going to get sick of being underfed every single day. And that's going to lead you to binging and lead you to making poor food choices when things that you don't expect to happen come up. When you have these stresses in your life and like life hits you and you say, you know what, I've been so good. I've been eating this restrictive diet for 2 months. I'm going to go and get some fast food, or I'm going to go out and have a nice meal at a restaurant. Your body allows you to trick yourself into having those conversations because it's always been hungry for the 2 months that you've been dieting. For the 17 months that I've been dieting outside of the water fast I did at the beginning, my body has never been underfed a volume of food. I go to bed with a full belly. I wake up in the morning. I feel satisfied still in the morning, and I'm not ravenous or I'm not looking for my next meal as soon as possible. Um, and so when you eat animal products or highly processed foods, your calorie average gets up into that 1,200 or even higher than if you eat all plant-based products. And so I I would highly recommend looking into a plant-based diet. I know that it seems to be daunting, and there's a difference. You know, you use the word vegan, and vegan is actually a moral stance. It is a philosophy that you wish to reduce the suffering or harm to animals as much as possible or practicable. A plant-based diet, you can eat a plant-based diet and then still have a car with leather seats or still wear a leather belt or have a wallet. So it really, there's this grouping of the two things that neither of the groups necessarily want to be grouped together, because for me, I feel like a whole food plant-based salt, oil, sugar-free diet is the optimal diet for our. I feel like if I was hanging around 12,000 years ago or 15 or 20,000 years ago, that I would try to live in places that had lots of fruit and had lots of easy food. Like, we want the easiest food. We don't want to go chasing an antelope to eat. We want to pick an orange or pick a banana off a tree or pull up some roots and eat the roots. That's the easiest food for us to eat. Where our meat eating came in is that we moved to climates like the Northern Europe, where there was a winter period that would happen. And we would go periods of time where we would not have access to that fresh food. That is where I believe that we would have started to really get into the meat eating. But I honestly, I feel like if I was around thousands and thousands of years ago and there was a banana tree next to me and a deer on the other side of the field, I would always choose eat off the banana tree until it ran out of bananas. And we live in a world where we never have to worry about running out of bananas because we can always go to the grocery store and we can always get plant food. And I know I wasn't trying to, you say you didn't know the difference. And then it's not, I'm not trying to criticize, but it's something where if somebody were to give me a hard time about being vegan, I have actually started to change to that mindset because I'm sitting here now 17 months into this, and I've not had to cause harm to animals in order for me to survive. And it weighs on me a bit, like uh how I didn't understand this before, that we don't have to cause suffering to another creature in order to survive. So why do we still do it? And so I would say that I switched to a whole food plant-based diet 100% for my health. I continue to strengthen my resolve on this diet because of a lot of the principles that veganism puts out there. So, hey, jackfruit watermelon, thanks for checking in. I hope you're having a great day. Is your fast still going good? I think you're on day 6 now, right? So I hope your fast is going well. I was just talking to, I'm going to say Hefe, um, and he's on day 3 right now at his water. So back to calories absorbed versus calories out. I pretty much, I think, said everything I wanted to say with it. But when we eat that food, the more processed it is, the more you put it in a blender, the more you break it down, your body is going to have more of that surface area of the food touching the stomach lining. So you're going to absorb more of the food that is processed. If you can eat closer to that scratch, eat the oat groats, eat the corn kernels instead of like the corn syrup, um, eat the food in its whole form, then your body has to combat the cell walls and the lining of that food for your ability to absorb it. So even if the package says that you just had 200 calories worth of corn, you really only absorbed 110 calories of that corn. And because of that, you really can't do the math on this. Like I couldn't, there's without having probably some very high tech equipment, I couldn't do the math on how much I actually absorb. But I do know that I don't absorb all of it because going to the restroom is much more satisfactory now than it has ever been on any type of restrictive diet that I've been on. Um, Anthony says, really good talk today. Thanks. Thanks. Absolutely. It's something that I feel like it has been, it's really what I want to, that message. I wish I could figure out a way to push out this calories absorbed. Like when we eat these highly processed foods, we look at the calorie labels and we don't realize that if I ate 100 or 200 calories worth of cinnamon toast crunch, my body's going to likely absorb all 200 calories of that cinnamon toast crunch. If I eat 200 calories of shredded wheat, my body is more likely to absorb 150 calories of that shredded wheat versus 200. So it uses that numbers game to my advantage every day, every time I eat. And it really is, I talked about it a lot the last few days. Now that I'm back into the salt, oil, sugar free for the last 3 months, I feel like I've reached this peace with my diet. I'm just eating food because it's satisfactory. There's not any additional pleasure derived from my food other than the satisfaction of getting to have a full belly. I think we try too hard to use our diet and our food to increase our pleasure. Like people say that food must be so boring or it must not be very, how do you got to live a little, enjoy life. And I want to look at you and be like, I'm married to a wonderful woman. I have 4 amazing kids. I love every bit of my job. And I don't, that extra little bit of joy I might get from my diet, I've been sacrificing years off the end of my life for 40 of the years I've been around just so I can get that extra bump of joy that my diet gives me. I get plenty of pleasure in every other aspect of my life. I don't worry about my diet being that, perfect, most pleasurable thing I eat every single time I go to the table. Jackfruit says, I really appreciate this talk. Do you have any what I eat in a day videos? I don't have any what I eat in a day videos because I talk about what I eat every single day that I go live. You can go back to any one of my live streams, I would imagine, for the most part. And within the first 10 minutes of my live stream or first 20 minutes of my live stream, I talk about what I've eaten throughout the day. There's so many what I eat in a day videos, and I have part of this is a little bit deeper kind of thing, but I don't have a lot of time. I don't have I have a wife, I have kids, I have a job, I have lots of things going on. for me, I wanted to record this, put it out there, and give people as much information as I could. The easiest way for me to do that is to go live and do a 30-minute, or in this case, I'm at 45 minutes, or 30 minutes or an hour, and just talk about what's going on with my life. And that I don't have to go back and edit the video and make a new thumbnail and produce it. I have done that some over the past few months, but my life was slower in the winter because I work a job that is a seasonal job and I have more time. For me to take the time out of my day to do all of that, I I may do it in the future, but it is not something that I have taken. So that's a very long answer to your question. But I do talk about what I eat every day. And I probably downplay the volume that I eat when I talk. Like I eat a lot of volume of food. And so far it's been going well. I know that as I go forward here, I got to get rid of the nut butter, because nut butter, I was talking about calorie density earlier. The nut butters are going to be pretty high calorie density. They're up in like the 1,500 calories per pound. And so it's really the highest calorie density stuff that I eat. Other than that, everything I eat is under 600 calories per pound. Um, and yeah, you said that's why you haven't done YouTube. You should do it like me. Yeah, I think that the accountability is a huge part of this whole process for me too. Talked about that in many streams in the past as well, is that you can only hold yourself so accountable, and you don't I never did a very good job. I would be like, "All right, I'm going on a diet today. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm going to do it." And then I drive by Burger King and I'm like, no, I'm not stopping at Burger King. And then I drive by McDonald's. No, I'm not stopping at McDonald's. And then I drive by Taco Bell. I was like, you know what? I drove by Burger King and Taco Bell. I should reward myself. I mean, there's Burger King and McDonald's. I should reward myself and get Taco Bell. So it's really hard to hold yourself accountable. And then your family is a great source of accountability. It's more of a source of motivation. But when you use your family for accountability, let's say you have a loved one, or you have a parent that you say, hey, I'm going to start my diet. And for the first couple weeks, they're all on board with you. They're really rocking it with you, or they're supporting you. And then 3, 4 weeks in, you do something to break your diet and you tell them, and they kind of give you a hard time about it, but or maybe they give you a real hard time about it, whatever. But they only do that like once or twice. And then after the second or third time that you screw up on your diet, they don't want to harp on you. They love you. That's not what they're there for. You want to use them as accountability, but at a certain point, they don't want you to stop talking to them because you feel like that you're nagging them. And so that's why I like this channel as my accountability. I am accountable to everybody that watches my live streams or whoever watches the videos after the fact. And then also, I feel like because I'm putting this on YouTube and I'm creating a record of what I'm doing, I'm also a little bit accountable to the people who haven't found my channel yet. I'm doing this for 3 years, no matter what. That's my goal. I've seen too many people do YouTube, do it for a month or 2 months and disappear. I'm doing this for 3 years. If at the end of 3 years I don't hit my goal, I didn't hit my goal, but I'm going to try my damnedest to get there within the 3 years. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far. I'm down 210 pounds. But I have accountability outside of my inner circle. And that's something that I feel like if you just wanted to just create an Instagram channel and just post the photos of your Instagram channel and start putting tags on or photos of your food and putting tags on Instagram, that you'll kind of get a following on that. And there'll be people that might start calling you out when you're not posting photos, and then it kind of keeps you motivated or keeps you doing it. So, Anthony says you have the same issue here, but a little different. You gave up something for Lent, but you screwed it up today. Yeah, and just like an alcoholic, the goal should be going back to abstinence or going back to your diet, full stop. You don't tell an alcoholic that fell off the wagon, oh, you know what? Go ahead and have a couple drinks the next few days and then get back into being, sober. You say, hey, I know you fell off the wagon. Tomorrow, this moment is where you begin your abstinence again. You don't drag it out. And our diet's the same. So many times you break your diet early in the day or at some point in the day, and it ruins the rest of your day. Don't let it ruin the rest of your day. Wake up tomorrow, and be able to say, you know what, I fucked up early, but I caught myself, I recorrected, and I'm already 18 hours back into my diet instead of having to restart again in the morning. So I hope you can figure it out and you get it. So um he said, love it, you're gonna start. That's awesome. Um Same, not same. Oh yeah, same. Yeah, I got what you're saying. So yeah, I kind of went on a tangent there about a bunch of different topics, but I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I am gonna get out of here. I also only do short videos because I know you guys got a lot of things to do. If you got to watch these videos at double speed in order to get through them, do whatever you got to do. But um, I don't want to take up a lot of time each day because I'm going to be here every day. So um, I appreciate you guys checking out my channel. I love the support. I love the activity in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, get subscribed. I'm really close to that 500 mark. I'd like to hit 500 subscribers at some point. And then click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live. If you haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. Screwed up this morning, get back on the wagon, get started right now. There's nobody that reaches their goal, looks back and says, man, I wish I would have waited. There's nobody that looks back and says, if only I would have just, gone to that birthday party and had that cake, instead of going on my diet 2 days earlier and not having cake. Nobody ever looks back and regrets getting started. They always say they wish they would have started sooner. Don't fall for the 2 myths of moderation: the myth of moderate consumption, the idea that a little bit of something is okay. Just a little bit of cocaine won't hurt you as long as you do it in moderation. It's a silly premise that we've convinced ourselves, we've been conditioned to believe that because it is true in other aspects of our life. But when it comes to diet, our bodies are designed to eat large volumes of food. So you give your body what it wants so it quits fighting you. And so you don't fall for that myth of moderation. You can eat a half plate of food for a week. You can eat no food for a week. There's some of us are on here that are doing that, but you can only do it for so long before your body starts to fight you on it. The other is the myth of moderate change. I know how much it sounds awesome that, I'm going to start eating a little bit of salad before dinner every day. And then eventually it'll just be all salad and I won't eat the macaroni and cheese anymore. It doesn't work that way. You reward yourself. You eat the salad, then you go to have the mac and cheese. You finish the bowl of mac and cheese and you go, you know what? I had a salad before. I'm going to reward myself. I'm going to have a little bit more mac and cheese. You have to make drastic changes. If you want to see drastic changes in your life, you have to make drastic changes. So get started right now. Don't fall for the myths. I will see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Time.